My husband brought his mistress to my retail job to serve me divorce papers, laughing that he needed to protect his future empire from my minimum wage lifestyle. He demanded a total separation of assets. But the color drained from his face in court when the judge looked at the financial disclosures and asked, "Sir, you say you want to protect your business. So why does this document show your retail worker wife owns the commercial building your office is located in?" But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go back to that Tuesday. 10:14 a.m. I was tagging inventory. We'd just gotten a shipment of hardcover classics at the bookstore where I worked. I love that smell. Paper. Glue. Dust. It's quiet. Safe. Then the door chimed. I looked up. I expected a regular. Maybe Mrs. Gable coming in for her weekly mystery novel. It wasn't Mrs. Gable. It was Richard. And he wasn't alone. He was wearing his deal-closing suit. Navy blue. Custom fit. The one I picked out for him 3 years ago in Milan, back when he thought I was just good with colors. On his arm was a girl. I say girl because she couldn't have been more than 23. She was wearing a white tennis skirt. In October. And she was holding Richard's arm like it was a lifeline. Or a trophy. I didn't move. I just stood there holding a copy of The Count of Monte Cristo. The irony isn't lost on me now. But at the moment, I just felt cold. Richard walked right up to the counter. He didn't say hello. He didn't ask how I was. He didn't even look me in the eye. He looked at the girl. He smiled at her. A smirk, really. Then he reached into his briefcase, the leather one I bought him for his promotion, and slapped a thick manila envelope onto the counter. It slid across the glass, knocking over a display of bookmarks. "There," he said. Loudly. The store was quiet. My coworker Ben stopped shelving in the back. A customer in the sci-fi section froze. "What is this, Richard?" I asked. My voice sounded strange. Hollow. "Freedom," he said. He laughed. A sharp, barking sound. "I'm filing, Sarah. Today. Irreconcilable differences. And since you're already here, consider yourself served." The girl giggled. Actually giggled. She covered her mouth with a hand that sported a manicure that cost more than my weekly paycheck at the store. "You brought her here?" I asked. "To my work. I wanted you to see what an upgrade looks like," Richard said. He leaned in, lowering his voice, but not enough. "And I wanted to make sure you got these before you tried to get your hands on my upcoming merger. I'm protecting my future empire, Sarah. I'm not letting a shopgirl drag me down to minimum wage." He looked around the store. Sneered at the dusty shelves. "Honestly," he said, "it's embarrassing being married to someone who punches a clock. I need a partner who understands grandeur." He tapped the envelope. "Read it and weep, sweetheart. Total separation of assets. What's mine is mine. What's yours is, well, look around." He gestured to the store. "To me. To my apron. Enjoy the minimum wage lifestyle," he said. "I'm done subsidizing it." He turned on his heel. The girl squeaked, "Bye," like she was leaving a party, and they walked out. I watched them get into his Porsche. I stood there for a long time. My hands were shaking. Not from fear. Not really. I looked at the envelope. Then I looked at Ben, who was staring at me with his mouth open. "Sarah," Ben whispered. "Are you okay? Do you need to go home?" I picked up the envelope. I felt the weight of it. "No, Ben," I said. I opened the register and put the envelope underneath the cash tray. "I don't need to go home. I needed to make a phone call. But not yet. First, I had to finish tagging the inventory." Richard thought he was cutting off a leech. He thought he was discarding a dead weight to let his balloon rise. He had no idea he had just severed the only anchor keeping him from floating into the abyss. To understand how bad Richard messed up, you have to understand the gap between what Richard thought was happening and what was actually happening. Richard saw a wife who worked 30 hours a week at a bookstore. He saw a wife who drove a 6-year-old Volvo. He saw a wife who clipped coupons for groceries and argued about the cable bill. He saw a liability. What he didn't see, what he refused to see for 5 years, was the truth. "I don't work at the bookstore because I need the money. I work at the bookstore because I own the bookstore. And the building it's in. And the building next to it. And the entire strip mall across the street. My grandfather didn't believe in trust fund babies. He believed in stealth wealth. He taught me that money screams but wealth whispers. When he passed, he left me everything. But he also left me a philosophy. Never let them know what you're holding until the cards are on the table. When I met Richard, I was already managing a commercial real estate portfolio worth 8 figures. But I didn't lead with that. I wanted to be loved for me, not my net worth. Richard was ambitious. I liked that about him. At first. He was a commercial architect. Flashy. Loud. He talked about vision and legacy. When we got engaged, he was the one who demanded the prenup. I remember that night perfectly. We were at a steakhouse. He ordered a $200 bottle of Cabernet. I ordered water. Sarah, he had said, holding my hand across the white tablecloth. I love you. But my career is about to explode. I'm going to build skylines. I need to know that my empire is safe. I need a clean break clause. Whatever we bring in, we keep. Whatever we make separately stays separate. He slid a document across the table. It was a template he'd downloaded off the internet. He hadn't even hired a lawyer. That's how arrogant he was. He thought he was the shark and I was the minnow. I understand, I had said softly. You want to protect your future assets. Exactly, he beamed. It's just business, babe. I read it. It was ironclad. Any assets held in individual names remain the sole property of that individual. No alimony. No spousal support. Complete financial independence. He thought he was walling off his future millions from his poor wife. He didn't realize he was walling himself off from my existing millions. I signed it. I didn't tell him. I thought I'll tell him when he proves he values me more than the money. But he never did. Over 5 years he got worse. He started treating me like an accessory that had gone out of style. He complained about my lack of ambition. He mocked my job at the bookstore. He'd come home bragging about a new lease he signed, unaware that I was the landlord reviewing his application under my LLC's name. That's the kicker. 2 years ago, Richard decided to open his own firm. He needed a prestigious address. He found a beautiful office space in the financial district. The landlord is a ghost, he told me over dinner one night. Some holding company called Alire Properties. Never met them. Just dealt with the management firm. But the rent? Steep. Worth it for the image, though. Alire. Alire is the brightest star in the constellation Aquila. My middle name is Aquila. I signed his lease. I approved his tenant improvements. I even gave him a 2-month rent concession because I knew he was cash poor starting out. I was subsidizing his empire while he made fun of my apron. So back to the bookstore. After Richard left with his tennis skirt Barbie, I went to the back office. I sat on a crate of returns. I called my lawyer. Not a strip mall lawyer. I called Mr. Henderson. The kind of lawyer who doesn't have a website and charges for phone calls in 6-minute increments that cost more than Richard's car payment. Sarah, Mr. Henderson said. His voice was like gravel wrapped in silk. I assume you're calling about the filing? It hit the docket 10 minutes ago. He served me at the store, Arthur, I said. With an audience. Silence on the line. Then a low hum. Tactically foolish. Emotionally cruel. We can work with this. He wants a clean break, I said. He's invoking the prenup. The prenup he drafted? Arthur asked. The one that waives all rights to spousal support and strictly separates assets based on title? That's the one. Arthur chuckled. It was a dry, terrifying sound. Does he know yet? No. Good, Arthur said. Let's keep it that way. He wants to play the big shot. Let him. We enter the discovery phase. Let him dig his own grave. I hung up. I went back out to the floor. Ben was sweeping up the bookmarks Richard had knocked over. You okay? Ben asked again. I'm fine, Ben, I said. And I meant it. Because the sadness was gone. It had evaporated. In its place was something else. Something colder. It was the feeling of a landlord getting ready to serve an eviction notice. The next 3 weeks were a masterclass in acting. I call this the gray rock phase. Richard moved into a hotel. The W. Of course. He put it on the credit card we shared, or so he thought. I saw the notification pop up on my phone. $450 a night. I didn't cancel the card. Not yet. I just downloaded the statement. Line item 1. I went home to the house we lived in. It was a nice house. A colonial in the suburbs. Richard bought it before we were married. It was his house. He reminded me of that constantly. Don't paint the walls, Sarah. It's my investment. Careful with the floors, Sarah. Resale value. He sent me an email that night. Subject line, move out date. Sarah, per the divorce filing, I expect you to vacate the premises within 30 days. Since the house is in my name as protected by the prenup, you have no claim to it. I'll be generous and give you until the 1st. Don't take anything that isn't explicitly yours. Richard. I read it twice. Don't take anything that isn't explicitly yours. I walked around the living room. The 65-inch OLED TV? I bought that for his birthday. Receipt in my email. The leather sectional? I paid for it when he was short on cash for the firm's expansion. Receipt in the file. The gourmet espresso machine he loved more than me? My Christmas gift to him. I sat down at the kitchen table. I opened my laptop. I created a spreadsheet. Tab 1. Debts. Richard liked to look rich. He didn't like being rich. Being rich requires discipline. Looking rich requires credit. I pulled his credit report. We were still married. I had authorized access. It was a bloodbath. He had leveraged everything to open his firm. He had 3 personal loans. His credit cards were maxed. And, this was new, he had taken out a second mortgage on the house. He was drowning. Tab 2. The mistress. Vanessa. 22 years old. Yoga instructor. I found her Instagram in 4 clicks. Public profile. Photo 1. Dinner with my love. Date 3 months ago. Location the French Laundry. Cost $1000. Photo 2. New bling. Date last week. A diamond tennis bracelet. I zoomed in. Cartier. Cost $8000. I cross-referenced the dates with our joint checking account statements. Nothing. I checked his business account statements. He was sloppy. He left his login saved on the home iPad. There was dinner business expense. Client gift business expense. He was funding his affair using company funds. Commingling assets. I took a screenshot. Arthur, my lawyer, called me 2 days later. He's pushing for a fast court date, Arthur said. He wants this done by next month. He says he has urgent business matters to attend to. He wants to marry her, I said. He thinks once I'm gone he's free to merge his debt with her, whatever she has. He's also demanding you pay his legal fees, Arthur added. He claims you're dragging your feet and wasting his billable hours. I laughed. I'll pay his legal fees. Tell him I agree. Sarah. Tell him I agree to everything, I said. I agree to the separation of assets. I agree to the prenup enforcement. I agree that the house is his. I agree to a single court hearing to finalize the financial disclosures. You want to ambush him, Arthur said. No, I said. I want to follow his rules. He wanted strict adherence to the contract? I'm going to give him strict adherence. The night before the hearing I packed. I didn't take the TV. I didn't take the couch. I didn't take the espresso machine. I took my clothes. My books. And the cat Barnaby. I left the house exactly as it was. Richard texted me at 11 p.m. Hope you're out. Jessica and I are coming by tomorrow after court to measure for new drapes. Jessica. He was already moving her in. I replied, I'm out. Keys are on the counter. I drove to the Four Seasons downtown. I valeted my Volvo. I walked to the front desk. Welcome back, Miss Sterling, the manager said. He didn't know me as Sarah, the bookstore clerk. He knew me as Miss Sterling, the woman who owned the land the hotel was built on. Thank you, David, I said. I'll be staying in the penthouse for a few weeks. Of course. We prepared it as soon as you called. I went up to the room. I ordered room service. A steak. Medium rare. And a bottle of sparkling water. I stood on the balcony looking over the city. I could see Richard's office building from here. A sleek glass tower. Floor 14. That was him. I owned floor 14. I owned floor 1 through 40. Tomorrow Richard was going to learn a very expensive lesson about reading the fine print. The courtroom was beige. Why is it that the most dramatic moments of your life happen in rooms that smell like floor wax and old coffee? I arrived 15 minutes early. I wasn't wearing my bookstore cardigan. I was wearing a black dress. Structured. Simple. Expensive. And heels. The kind of heels that click on the linoleum like a metronome. Click, click. Arthur was already there. He had a binder. A thick black binder. Richard walked in 5 minutes late. He was flushed. He looked annoyed. Jessica wasn't with him. Thank God. He must have left her in the car or the lobby. He saw me and stopped. He blinked. He'd never seen me in this dress. He'd never seen me look powerful. Nice dress, he sneered, sitting down at the other table. Did you rent it? Good morning, Richard, I said. My voice was level. You look tired. Busy, he snapped. Building an empire. You wouldn't understand. The judge entered. Judge O'Malley. Older woman. Sharp glasses. No nonsense. All right, she said, shuffling papers. Docket 447. Sterling versus Sterling. We are here to finalize financial disclosures and asset division per the prenuptial agreement. She looked at Richard. Mr. Sterling, you are the petitioner. You are requesting immediate enforcement of the prenuptial agreement dated August 12, 2019. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor, Richard said. He puffed out his chest. I want a clean break. What's mine is mine. What's hers is hers. I have significant business assets that I need to protect. And you, the judge looked at me. Miss Sterling, do you contest the prenup? No, Your Honor, I said. I agree completely. Separate property should remain separate. Richard smirked at his lawyer. He thought he'd won. He thought I was rolling over. Very well, Judge O'Malley said. Let's review the financial disclosures. Mr. Sterling, you have declared the following assets. She listed them. The house on Maple Street. Mortgage to the hilt. The 2021 Porsche. Lease. The business, Sterling Architecture. Operating at a loss, though he hid it well. Personal checking, $4,200. And debts, she continued. Credit cards, $42,000. Personal loans, $85,000. Business loans, $150,000. She looked over her glasses at him. Mr. Sterling, for a man protecting an empire, you seem to be protecting a lot of red ink. Richard shifted in his seat. It's a growth phase, Your Honor. The valuation of the firm is in the intellectual property and future contracts. I see, she said. Now let's look at Ms. Sterling's disclosure. Richard leaned back, bored. He checked his watch. He was probably thinking about lunch with Jessica. Judge O'Malley flipped a page. Then she flipped another. She stopped. She adjusted her glasses. She looked at the paper. Then she looked at me. Then she looked at the paper again. Miss Sterling, the judge said. Her voice had changed. It was respectful. Is this accurate? Yes, Your Honor, I said. It is fully audited. The documents are in tab C of the binder. The judge turned to Richard. Mr. Sterling, have you reviewed your wife's financial disclosure? Richard waved a hand. I didn't need to. Like I said, she works retail. Put her minimum wage savings in her column and let's go. Sir, the judge said. I think you should look at this. She slid the paper across the bench. Richard sighed. He stood up, grabbed the paper and sat back down. Okay, let's see, he muttered. Checking account. Wait. He squinted. Is this a typo? He asked. He looked at me. Sarah, why does your checking account have 6 zeros? Read the rest, Richard, I said softly. His eyes scanned down the page. Asset. 40% share Alire Properties LLC. Asset. 100% ownership 4500 Main Street Commercial. Asset. 100% ownership 1200 Highland Avenue, Retail Strip. Asset. Diversified stock portfolio. Total net worth. $24,500,000. Richard went silent. The room went silent. You could hear the hum of the air conditioner. What is this? He whispered. Alire? You work at a bookstore. I own the bookstore, Richard, I said. I own the building. I own the block. He looked like he was having a stroke. But, that's my landlord. Yes, I said. You're 3 months behind on rent, by the way. I've been letting it slide because we were married. But strictly speaking, this is impossible. Richard stood up. He's lying. She's hiding assets. She frauded me. Sit down, Mr. Sterling. Judge O'Malley barked. Richard sat. He was breathing hard. He looked at his lawyer. Did you know this? His lawyer looked terrified. You said she was a cashier. You said didn't need to investigate her finances. Sir, the judge said. You wanted the prenup enforced. What is yours is yours. What is hers is hers. This document, which you drafted, specifically excludes marital sharing of assets held in individual names. Richard stared at the paper. He was doing the math. If we divorced without the prenup, he might have argued for alimony. He might have argued that my lifestyle supported his business. He might have gotten a piece of the appreciation. But with the prenup, he got his debt. I got my empire. But, Richard stammered. But I need. You need to explain something to me, the judge cut in. She picked up another document. Mr. Sterling, looking at your business expenses. I see a lot of client development, at Tiffany's and the French Laundry. And yet your wife is listed as the primary creditor on your business lease. She looked at me. Miss Sterling, as the landlord, are you aware that your tenant is using company funds for personal entertainment? I am now, Your Honor, I said. And as his landlord, I believe using business capital for non-business activities is a violation of the lease terms regarding solvency. Richard's face turned gray. You can't, he whispered. Sarah. That's my office. That's my headquarters. It's my building, I said. The judge cleared her throat. Judgment is entered according to the prenuptial agreement. Parties retain their sole assets and debts. Divorce granted. She slammed the gavel. Mr. Sterling, she added. Good luck with your empire. We walked out of the courtroom. Richard followed me. He was frantic now. The swagger was gone. The future billionaire was gone. He was just a guy in a suit he couldn't afford, chasing a woman he had thrown away. Sarah. Sarah, wait. I stopped in the hallway. I turned around. Sarah, he panted. We need to talk. I didn't know. Why didn't you tell me? Would it have mattered? I asked. If you knew I was rich, would you have treated me better? Would you have loved me? Or would you just have loved the money? He froze. He didn't have an answer. That was answer enough. I can fix this, he said. We can fix this. I'll drop Jessica. She means nothing. It was just stress. Sarah, baby, we're a power couple. Think of what we can build together with your capital and my vision. I laughed. Actually laughed. Richard, I said. You don't have vision. You have delusion. I reached into my purse. I pulled out a white envelope. What is this? He asked. Eviction notice, I said. For the office. You breached the lease terms. Commingling funds. You have 48 hours to vacate. You're evicting me? His voice cracked. But, where will I go? I don't know, I said. Maybe you can work from the house on Maple Street. Oh wait. The bank is foreclosing on that next week. I saw the notice in the mail. He looked at me with pure horror. You're ruining me. No, Richard, I said. I stepped closer. You ruined yourself. You wanted a clean break. You wanted to make sure I couldn't touch your assets. Well, congratulations. You're safe. I can't touch your debt. It's all yours. I turned to walk away. Sarah, he screamed. People were staring. You can't do this. I'm your husband. Ex-husband, I corrected. I walked to the elevator. The doors opened. I stepped inside. Just as the doors were closing, I saw Jessica running down the hall toward him. She looked happy. She probably wanted to know if we were done so they could go shopping. I saw the look on Richard's face as she grabbed his arm. It wasn't love. It was panic. He looked at her $8,000 bracelet and realized he had no way to pay for it. The doors closed. It's been 6 months. I wish I could tell you that I felt bad. That I spent nights crying over the man I lost. But I didn't. I spent the next month busy. I hired a new management team for the retail strip. I renovated the bookstore. I put Ben in charge as manager and gave him a raise. Richard? His firm folded within a week of losing the office. Reputation is everything in architecture, and getting evicted by your own wife is hard to spin. The house was foreclosed on. Last I heard, Jessica left him. Apparently, she wasn't interested in a power couple dynamic that involved living in a studio apartment and riding the bus. I was having coffee on the patio of my new place last Sunday. It's a nice place. Quiet. No one telling me what I can and can't paint. My phone buzzed. It was an email from a Richard S. Subject: Coffee? Sarah, I've been doing a lot of thinking. I know I messed up, but I think we had something real. I've changed. I'm humble now. Can we just grab coffee? I'd love to hear about your business. Maybe I could consult? I looked at the screen. Thought about the retail store. The bell chiming. The way he slapped those papers on the counter. The way he laughed about his future empire. I didn't delete the email. I forwarded it to my assistant. Please reply. Miss Sterling is unavailable. For any business inquiries regarding Alire Properties, please submit a formal proposal to the leasing office. Application fees apply. I put the phone down. I looked out at the garden. The sun was shining. The cat was chasing a butterfly. I took a sip of my coffee. Tasted like victory. And the best part? I paid for it myself.